BHP, the health and safety of our people come first. Hazards are a source of energy that have the potential to damage people. To keep ourselves and those around us safe, it's important that we can identify hazards or potential energy transfers and then have effective controls in place to manage the risk of personal damage occurring. In a work environment such as a mine site, there may be many sources of potential energy transfer that could present risks. Without a system for identifying and categorizing these potential energy transfers, it can be easy to miss some. That's where the damaging energy model is helpful. A hazard can be considered as a potential damaging energy. BHP uses the damaging energy model to help us identify potential hazards in the workplace and consider the way that these hazards may be able to damage us either extremely quickly or damage us over time. The damaging energy model encourages us to think about hazards according to the type of energy that may be present. This provides a helpful model for identifying hazards and minimizing the likelihood of an energy transfer which damages people. To effectively use the damaging energy model in your workplace, there are 3 key things you need to understand. How the body sustains damage. A sound knowledge of the different sources of damaging energy such as vehicular, gravitational. The mechanisms by which that energy can damage. Firstly, it's important to understand that damage occurs when the body is exposed to an energy exchange that exceeds the body's tolerable limits. This means the body cannot absorb that energy without there being some damage sustained. It's important to realize that damage can occur very rapidly, such as in a fall, which involves high levels of energy. It can occur over time through repeated heavy lifting, pushing or pulling tasks, which involve moderate levels of energy. Finally, it can occur over years, involving very low levels of energy such as noise or dust, which is classified as chemical energy. Let us discuss an example of a very rapid exchange of energy. You could be driving an IT along a road that has deteriorated and has potholes. You are driving at the nominated speed and fail to observe a large pothole which is full of water. Your vehicle hits the pothole and you experience a severe jolt jar. This has the real potential to damage your spinal column because your body is not designed to withstand that severity of impact. Can you identify where you have received a severe jolt jar when operating a vehicle? If the answer is yes, then a conversation is required with your leader as the risk needs to be managed. In the example just described, the hazard of vehicular energy that resulted in damage to the person was associated with a deteriorated road interacting with the vehicle and the driver. Vehicular energy is one of the damaging energy categories, but there are also others. The damaging energy model identifies 13 different types of energy-based hazards that have the potential to damage people. We will discuss human, gravitational, and vehicular energies, as these 3 energies are involved in the majority of personal damage. The way in which an energy can damage people is called the mechanism of energy transfer. Understanding these mechanisms will allow you to identify future risk. It's important to recognise that an energy source has a number of different mechanisms by which it can interact with people to produce damage. There needs to be an energy exchange and its associated mechanism for damage to be an outcome. For example, thought vehicular energy is the energy source. The mechanism could be vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to environment. This is an important understanding because if we can identify the mechanism by which a potential damaging energy transfer could occur, we can take steps to prevent the likelihood of the energy transfer occurring. The previous information covers the basics of the damaging energy model. We will now look at a few examples to demonstrate how the damaging energy model helps us identify the mechanisms by which that energy transfer can occur, so we can stay safe and free from damage in our workplace. Vehicular energy refers to the energy that is associated with a moving vehicle. When we think of the ways in which the hazard of vehicle energy could result in damage, one of the first things that may come to mind is the risk of a vehicle-to-vehicle interaction. This is where the energy from one vehicle interacts with the energy from another vehicle, producing what we call a collision. The mechanism of energy transfer in that example is called vehicle-to-vehicle. There are other mechanisms by which the hazard of vehicular energy could damage us. These other mechanisms are vehicle to pedestrian and vehicle to environment. The mechanism of vehicle to environment could be associated with a vehicle losing control on a road in slippery conditions. It could involve the vehicle losing control and striking the wall in the underground environment. However, it is very important that we do not forget the vehicular energy mechanism discussed earlier, which is often associated with rough roads and potholes. This vehicular energy mechanism is called ride vibration or jolt or jar. Can you think of examples where the hazard of vehicular energy and its associated mechanisms of vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to pedestrian, vehicle to environment, and ride quality have the potential to result in personal damage? Gravitational energy has a number of different mechanisms with respect to falling people. These three mechanisms are associated with a person falling. They can fall from height, fall while ascending or descending an access system, or fall to the same level. However, gravitational energy has another mechanism not associated with a falling person, but with a falling object. Hence, there are four mechanisms to consider when thinking about the hazard of gravitational energy. We know that the height from which the person falls determines how severe the outcome may be. Therefore, we must not only identify where a person could fall from heights greater than 2 meters, but also, very importantly, from heights less than 2 meters. With respect to the mechanism of falls to the same level, we have had incidents where people have slipped and fallen, often due to the presence of a contaminant. There are also incidents where people have tripped and fallen, resulting in such things as a fractured wrist. In the underground environment, ankle rolls can occur. With respect to the mechanism of falls while descending an access system, the event that often comes to mind is when a person slips while descending a set of stairs and sustains damage to their spinal column. Often it is the case that the tread noses are worn or there is insufficient lighting that has contributed to this hazard of gravitational energy and the mechanism of fall while descending. Can you think of situations where the hazard of gravitational energy and its associated fall mechanisms could result in an energy exchange which has the potential to damage our people? As a final example, we will discuss human energy as it is highly represented in our injury database. It is simply explained by understanding that a human being is a source of energy and has the capacity to do work at a level where the human body can be damaged. One of the mechanisms by which human energy can damage people is associated with heavy or very heavy lifting, pushing and pulling tasks in which we place too much stress and strain on the body, resulting in damage but not necessarily experiencing pain at that time. However, if in our work we are repeatedly exposed to heavy or very heavy lifting, pushing and pulling tasks, the damage will progress until pain onset occurs. Often by this stage, it is difficult to fully heal. How does this help in your workplace? Let us take vehicular energy as an example. If you know that vehicular energy, the hazard, is a potential damaging energy and has 4 different mechanisms, then whenever you encounter vehicles in the workplace or you have control of the vehicle, you are primed to consider the mechanisms by which that vehicular energy could interact with you or others to produce damage. You can then review the controls you have in place to ensure that you or somebody else is protected from the hazard of vehicular energy. It may be as simple as slowing down until a road is repaired. It may be as simple as calling up a loader on the radio before you enter their work zone. It may be that you should raise the problems being experienced at a particular intersection at a pre-start meeting. It may be that you call your supervisor when you experience slippery conditions while driving. All of these examples are related to the mechanisms of vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to pedestrian, vehicle to environment, and vehicle ride quality. Similar logic applies to human and gravitational energies. Being familiar with the different types of damaging energies and their mechanisms will help when you are completing risk assessments for your next job. Take a look around your environment and think about the task you are planning to do. Consider the potential sources of damaging energy and the mechanisms by which they could adversely interact with somebody or yourself. Then ask yourself if the controls that are in place to prevent damage from occurring are effective. If not, ask yourself, what do I need to do to ensure that I go home today in the same physical and mental condition that I came to work? Thank you for your attention. Stay safe.